Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here today with a very special Bourgeois guitar. This instrument is part of Bourgeois' Luthier's Choice series. It's a line of guitars that is designed by Dana Bourgeois himself, the founder of Bourgeois guitars. And it's an instrument that really takes some risks, kind of takes some very forward-looking elements that aren't typically found in standard Bourgeois instruments, and really creates a one-of-a-kind guitar that's a lot of fun to play and that really introduces a lot of new elements. This particular guitar is called the OMSC Odyssey, and this particular guitar is built with just stunning Brazilian rosewood back and sides and a beautiful redwood top. So really first-rate materials all the way around, but there's a lot of things going on in this guitar. I was talking with Dana earlier, and we were talking about how Bourgeois guitars have always sort of been innovative on the inside, the way they're built, the way they're voiced, but you couldn't really tell so much from the outside because most of them look a lot like classic vintage American guitars. With this guitar, they've really kind of taken it the next step, and it's very obvious that there are some things going on that depart from vintage tradition in a lot of ways, even though the body outline, the body shape is Bourgeois' standard OMS design, which is a 12-fret variation on the OM. It basically takes a triple O body as it would be for 14-fret guitar, such as an OM, but it matches it with a 12-fret neck that moves the bridge a little bit further in the lower bout, which is a very active area of the top. That is something that Bourgeois has offered on some of their standard and more traditional guitars, and it's a very cool concept all the way around that a few people are starting to sort of get hip to, that sort of an idea. But Dana was telling me some of the ideas that have been floating around his design sense for a while is to not only sort of honor the tradition of vintage guitars, which he's been known for a long time, but to also incorporate some of the more modern Luthier design ideas, some of which have been around for a couple of decades now too, and sort of have established their own tradition. And Dana was telling me that he's having a really good time sort of merging some of these different ideas, such as the more vintage OM style body and his general sort of construction of things. But as you can tell with this guitar, it has an armrest bevel. It has a port in the side of the guitar, so already we have some features that are common on modern Luthier-made instruments, both very functional elements. On the inside, the guitar has a what Dana calls a lattice braced back. It's kind of a double X pattern that braces the back rather than the traditional ladder bracing on the back, and Dana feels that that is a way to really control the stiffness and the movement of the back a lot more precisely than you can do with a traditionally braced back. And so again, it's something that's happening on the inside of the guitar. Dana's always had some forward-thinking bracing ideas, particularly when it comes to bracing the top, and now he's sort of moved some of those ideas to the back as well. One of the fun things about having the side port in the guitar, of course, it allows you to hear the guitar a little bit better when you're playing it, and it may also balance the overall sound a little bit. But one fun thing is that you can look in here and actually see the neck joint that Dana has developed over the years, which is a very clever bolt-on design with a couple bolts holding the heel to the body and 4 bolts holding the fingerboard extension to the top. And usually you have to stick a mirror in the guitar to see that. With this, it's right there, and it's beautifully executed, as is all the craftsmanship on this guitar, of course. So I mentioned the beautiful redwood top. Redwood, of course, comes from Northern California, and I don't see very many redwood tops that are this evenly colored and have tight grain like this. This is really a spectacular example. Looks a little bit like cedar, but darker, and it's got that reddish kind of tint to it. The same is true for the back and sides, which are just really stunning. This is beautiful old growth Brazilian rosewood. and it's the kind of wood that Dana has a bit of a stash of, and he's using it for very special kind of one-off instruments such as this. This is the kind of wood there just isn't any more of. So once builders such as Dana use up their premier stash, it'll be gone. So beautiful to see it on an innovative guitar like this, where it really shines. The guitar uses snakewood for its bridge and its fingerboard. Very stunning in the case of the bridge. It really matches the redwood top very nicely. There's some designs on the wings of the bridge here, very, very nice. And some wooden inlays in the fingerboard here. So overall, it's a guitar that doesn't use a lot of pearl or abalone, but still has a lot of design elements that really take it into kind of another realm from a plainly appointed instrument. Same is true for the rosette. It kind of uses sort of an offset set of rings, and I find it very cool looking. It's simple and yet very elegant and very distinctive. The guitar has an interesting set of tuning machines that I wasn't aware of before. They're called K-tar, and they're made in Italy. Very precise set of open gear tuners, beautiful kind of modern design. Dana tells me that he found these at the NAMM show this year. It's a brand new company, and he immediately thought of a guitar like this that kind of combines the vintage and the modern elements in one instrument. These tuners do exactly that. They're open gear tuners. The buttons look very much like a vintage tuner, but they also have a very kind of sleek modern design, and on a functional level, they use screwed-in bushings rather than the press-in bushings that you find on vintage tuners or vintage-inspired open-back tuners. So again, it's a great combination of vintage and very modern elements, both in terms of the functionality and the look, and that's really kind of the theme of the guitar overall. You have these beautiful materials, which in the case of the Brazilian Rosewood, of course, you would have found on classic flat tops. The redwood, not so much. The redwood is very much kind of a wood that you would find on a modern guitar, and it's a beautiful way to combine that. The armrest bevel, I find, is perfectly located. On a lot of guitars, I find that for my arms, I have relatively long arms, I'm a tall person, the bevels are sometimes a little bit too much toward the waist, so that my arm is almost at the end of the bevel. With this, I really find that it's in the perfect position. It's very comfortable to play, and combined with the 12-fret neck, it's just an ultra playable instrument. Kind of a modern feeling neck without being too slim, 1 3/4 inch nut width. So beautiful for fingerstyle guitar. I was playing it in DADGAD earlier, and just great playability, and with that redwood top, just gives you beautiful response. Doesn't take a lot of effort to get a good sound out of it. So overall, it's really great to see Dana Bourgeois' expertise with vintage instruments being combined with some of these very modern ideas, and kind of coming up with an original concept of fusing all these different elements. This particular guitar is the OMSC Odyssey, Luthier's choice. As I mentioned, it's a one-off. Bourgeois will, of course, do custom instruments very similar to this, and some of these elements are found in other guitars that they're making. So definitely worth checking out. Bourgeois has dealers all over the United States, and I would really recommend you treat yourself and checking one of these out, and give them a strum and a test drive. I'm going to go out and play a little bit more on this guitar. It's a beautiful sounding guitar and just a lot of fun to play. I'm now tuned in CG, D, G, C, D tuning, and I'll just go out by playing a little bit more fingerstyle. For Peghead Nation, I'm Teja Gerken.